Hey there. I just wanted to let you know that next week I will be offering a free live VBAC prep workshop called Three Steps to Have an Empowered VBAC, even without a supportive provider. The two sessions will be on Wednesday, October 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The second session is Tuesday, October 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't have to attend both. You can attend either one, or you can attend both if you'd like. Again, this will be live. Some of the things I'll be covering in the workshop are how to shift from fear and doubt to confidence and empowerment when it comes to your VBAC, the power of effective communication and boundary setting, and how you can still have a strong support system even without a supportive provider. This workshop is perfect for anyone, whether you're trying to conceive or currently pregnant and preparing for a VBAC. Again, the two dates currently being offered are Wednesday, October 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Tuesday, October 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to find out more and register for one of the workshop dates, please go to thehannahgill.com/workshop. Welcome to the podcast where we get into the real and raw of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. My name is Hannah Gill. I'm a VBAC mom, doula, and birth educator, and I help women discover their options and harness their inner power to have the experiences they desire. I'm here to support you through the ebbs and flows of these transformative years so we can have open and honest conversations about the hard, the messy, and the beautiful parts of motherhood. This is the Ebb and Flow Birth Show. So, Kerry, how does Hypnobabies help the fear and anxiety surrounding birth that so many women have? Because our society and culture put so much emphasis on painting the picture of birth as inherently traumatic and a medicalized event that couldn't possibly be calm and peaceful and free of unnecessary intervention. So, how does Hypnobabies help with that?
Well, there are several ways. The first thing is, as soon as our students start Hypnobabies, they start hearing, because there's 21 tracks in Hypnobabies now, but they start hearing these messages in the tracks that basically calm them down and let them know on a conscious and subconscious level that pregnancy and birth are absolutely natural and normal, and to just basically be able to disregard other people's comments and really stay in what we call a bubble of peace. And that is a mental tool or technique that they do create in the first class that helps them to keep the negativity outside of them. Another thing, and of course, then all the messages in Hypnobabies are all extremely positive. So the farther along that you get in the program week by week, the calmer and more relaxed and confident you are going to be as a student looking forward to your birth with happy anticipation rather than fear and trepidation. So another thing is that we do have daily positive pregnant, they're called joyful pregnancy affirmations. They're all positive. And these are phrases in a session, an audio session. It's not hypnosis, it's affirmations. And so what you do is you put them on anytime. You could be driving. This is the only track in Hypnobabies, by the way, that you can listen to when you are driving or doing other things. So you can put them on when you're in the car or playing with your other children, or just relaxing, or walking, or cooking, things like that. And they're one-liners all about, starting with how the pregnancy is a positive thing and you love your pregnant body and you are doing the best you can to eat well for your baby. And then it moves on into how your birthing is going to be, much easier and much more lovely. And it's all very, very positive. So hearing 150 of those every single day helps to counteract the negativity of the person who came up to you in the supermarket and patted your tummy and said, "Oh, darling, let me tell you about my 72-hour labor. It almost killed me." And then when people do come up, we teach our students that when people do come up, whether it's your family or your, people who work in your office and or whoever it is, they come up and they want to start telling you their negative birth story. That is something that is actually quite harmful. Not that birth stories themselves are harmful, and we should always listen to people's birth stories, but just not in that context. Not when we are the one that in another month are going to give birth. So when they start, we can put our hand up in the universal stop sign position and say, "Oops, we have to change the conversation around right now. We have to talk about something different because my birthing is going to be different than that. And I'm making these great, wonderful plans, and I really need to stay in a positive mind frame. So why don't you tell me the happiest thing, the most joyful thing that happened in your birthing?" And then that person has to stop and change their mind and think about what the happiest thing was. Was it when they found out, right at the moment of birth that it was a boy? Was it when they held their baby for the first time? Was it when they discovered that their baby had a dimple in her chin, just like daddy? What was the most joyful, happy thing? So now they are filled with the wonderful chemicals that flood your body when you think of joy, and they are now a happy person, and they are telling you something happy, so it affects you in a positive way. This also affects our brains in certain ways when people tell us positive things or negative things, but I'm not going to get into that because that would be a whole other podcast. So then in addition to that, that helps keep the fear away. In addition to that, we do have a fear clearing session. That is a whole hypnosis session where people are able to release their fears, their concerns, and their control issues over their birthing. And when I say control issues, I mean that there are people, and I laugh because it's just always so funny to me when people say, "I don't want my baby to be born on," I'll pick something, November 11th, because that's my dad's birthday. And I don't want him to share my dad's birthday. Or, we have to have the baby on such and such a date for tax purposes. And these are what we call control issues. Whereas in reality, when we allow the baby to pick its own birth date, which it will if we allow it to, the baby knows when to be born. The baby actually puts out chemical signals to the mother's body that starts the birthing, these hormones, these chemicals that start the birthing. So that means the baby is basically cooked and ready to come out. So when we release these fears and concerns and control issues, it frees us up. It not only frees the emotions, but it frees the body, because when we don't have fears on board, the body doesn't tense up and constrict muscles that might keep us from going into our birthing time. So we address fears and concerns on quite a few levels in Hypnobabies.
Yeah, that's a great aspect of it, I believe, because I feel like in the media, especially on social media, there's so much just fear and anxiety put into people by this content. And I always tell my clients, like, it's okay to take a break from all the social media and everything and just leave that out of your daily life when you're pregnant or getting ready to give birth, because you have to protect yourself and your peace and your environment. So I always, yeah.
That's a good point, Hannah, because one of the things that we also encourage in our students is to avoid birth videos and birth stories online or from anyone who that are negative and scary. And some people say, well, I love reading birth stories, and I belong to these different groups online, and everyone's giving birth, and it doesn't really scare me. And that may be true, although for most people it's not. So it's important to remember that, excuse me, that for most people, when they do hear these birth stories, it does scare them on a conscious level. But what is really going on is that your subconscious is accepting these birth stories as real. So the more that you read these birth stories, the more that you look at these birth videos that are not the kind of birthing that you want, the more the subconscious mind thinks you do, because you are focusing on that.
Right.
So when you focus on it, it thinks that's the kind of birthing that you want, and it will do the best that it can to create that for you. So people really should take a break.
Yeah, I completely
As you
agree.
say.
So in relation, because my specialization specifically is VBAC and cesarean support. So I know that Hypnobabies has additional tracks for VBAC. Could you go into that a little bit on what those look like?
We do have a set of tracks that were created specifically for our VBAC moms. And that is because they need as much encouragement as is possible. This is a different kind of birth. It is a birth that needs a lot of support and encouragement. So it's not that they can't do it. They absolutely can do VBAC, and yet they are being discouraged left and right. They're being discouraged when they go to their doctor for the first time and say, yes, I had a cesarean last time, but I want a VBAC. And the doctor might say, oh, we don't do that. Or the hospital you're going to doesn't have VBACs anymore. Well, now, if they really want to have a vaginal birth, then they have to do a lot of research. It creates a lot of stress. And or they might be starting to think, oh, maybe I can't do this. And so these two tracks were created specifically to encourage and support our VBAC mothers that they can do it. And we know that people can do it because, for instance, people who are sometimes told by their doctor with the first baby, well, you're very tight down there, or your pelvis is very small. There's only this many inches between your pelvic bones or whatever. We're going to have to give you a C-section. They do. And sometimes that happens. And then with the next baby, they have learned a lot and they've decided they want a VBAC. So they go to a midwife and they say, I want a VBAC. And the midwife goes, alrighty then. And she supports and encourages them, teaches them how to use different stretching to open up their pelvis, tailor sitting, all kinds of different things. And then when they're in their birthing, it's not a big deal. Then they are encouraged to use these upright positions, which can open up the pelvis by as much as 10 to 15% whenever you're upright and squatting, whether it's a supported squat or a squat on the floor or a bed or whatever. And so they are supported with this, and amazingly, they get a baby out of that same pelvis. And the baby might even be bigger because usually second babies are. But the difference was the way that they prepared for it with a completely different mindset, the support that they got, the birth support with a midwife, and then the support during their birthing. So we wanted to be a part of that support and encouragement to let them know that you can do this. And that's what those tracks are about. And we have a set just for twins moms, because moms who have had are having twins and being told, well, you can't have them vaginally. Sometimes it's possible to have them vaginally. And if that is a goal, then we wanted to be a part of encouraging that as well. So we have a set to help them understand that do your research and set things up, and understand that what you want is a valid concern, and you deserve to have it in the absence of complications. So
Mm-hmm.
we have that as well.
So, my last question is, what is like the number one thing you would tell someone who's maybe on the fence about trying to decide to go with Hypnobabies versus another program?
Well, the first thing is to decide what your goals are. So we have many first-time moms, for instance, who they don't want that birth. They don't want that first birth that their sister had or their friend had or that they're reading about online. They want all of the information. They want all the childbirth education. They want all the tools and everything they can possibly put in their emotional and mental toolbox. And so to me, that's very gratifying to see that they are able to avoid that first awful birth that then the second group of people who do Hypnobabies have. And they are coming to us because they want a better birth than last time, because it was that first awful birth.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, they do the preparation and they work on it and they set their birth up completely differently, kind of like I did. And, they are able to have what's called a healing birth.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you described your birth as a healing birth in some ways, which
Mm-hmm.
is
It was.
great. And so basically, it is, what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Our program is not a simple program. When I say that, I mean there are childbirth education programs out there that are don't have as much in them to do. So for Hypnobabies, there's quite a bit of reading, because it's a childbirth education program that teaches you the benefits and the risks and the alternatives of all of the common interventions out there, as well as in detail how you are 100% in charge
Mm-hmm.
of all of those decisions in your pregnancy, your birthing, your postpartum period, and your baby's care.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want all that information? Do you want the hypno tools, which are going to help you relax the deepest you could possibly ever relax, and basically retrain the subconscious mind that these feelings are there, the pushing, the pulling, the tightening, the baby movements, but without as much discomfort as would be there if you were not using hypnosis? Is that what you want? If that's what you want and you would like to do the practice, read the materials, then Hypnobabies is for you. For people who want a more simple approach with their childbirth education, then you would go elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I always, people who ask me about Hypnobabies, I tell them, like, you have to put the effort in. You have to listen to your tracks. You have to consciously make the decision to do all of these things for the birth that you're wanting. And like for my first birth, like I said, I just took a random hospital childbirth class and thought, oh, yep, I'm going to have an unmedicated birth. Everything's going to be great. But the second time around, I realized you have to put an effort in. It's not just willy-nilly, do all whatever. And second time around, I mean, I had a toddler to take care of too, but I still put in the time and the effort to do it how it's meant to be done. I purchased the program and I wanted to follow it how it's supposed to be done. And I feel like that's when people see the most success for sure.
Absolutely. And we do have moms who already have 2, 3, 4, and 5 children, and they do
Mhm.
Hypnobabies and they're able to do it. One of the things to remember is that you can listen to 2 tracks every night as you go to sleep. So
Mhm.
you could listen to your affirmations track and your main hypnosis track as you're going to sleep, because your mind will be completely relaxed as you're sleeping and absorb the suggestions. And then in the morning, when you get up, listen to that one 15-minute finger drop track to get you going for the day. I mean, there's many ways to, and the reading itself is probably about 20 minutes a day, if you spread it out throughout the week. So it's very doable, and people just need to, as you said, decide to do it.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
can do, if you have all these other children, then get people to help you with them, put them to bed at night, or do it after they're asleep, or when they're napping, or whatever. People do it. They actually do it. Our students do it. So I know it
Right.
can be done.
So if any of my listeners are interested in taking Hypnobabies, I am an affiliate, but you said you also have a special discount code you wanted to mention?
Yes. So first of all, our website is hypnobabies.com, and our store is hypnobabies-store.com. However, I'm hoping that Hannah will use her affiliate link to direct you to our store, where you, as a listener of this podcast, can save 20% on anything in our online store except for our hard copy home study hypnobirthing course. So the 2 online courses are on there. The fertility course is on there because we get people pregnant too. We have a breastfeeding course. We have individual tracks that eliminate nausea and fear of childbirth, and not fear of needles and things like that. We have assorted different individual tracks and sets as well. So the discount code ebb and flow 20, and I'm sure that Hannah will put this in the show notes, is your discount code for 20% off. And we are happy to extend that to the listeners of this show, because we want to encourage people to understand that their mind is super, super powerful. So if you just want to start with our Eliminate Stress and Anxiety track in the category of Hypnosis for Life at our store, that would be a good place to start. But if you're ready to jump in, then you're going to go to the home study section and, look at our online courses.
Well, thank you so much, Kerry, for being here. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Well, you're welcome. I'm always happy to help people have a better pregnancy and birthing and new parenthood.
You just finished another episode of the Ebb and Flow Birth Show. For more, head over to ebbandflowbirthco.com or on Instagram at ebbandflowbirthco. As a reminder, this podcast is provided to you for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for medical advice. Until next time, bye friends.